This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. We will be dissecting their journeys in hopes to deliver actionable content that you, the artist, can start implementing now, helping you grow not only as a creative spirit, but also a successful artistic entrepreneur. With a little organization, relationship building, and your artistic ability, you can obtain greatness. Climb aboard, whether an artist, retail owner, or enthusiast. We have a ton of fun in store for you. Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show. This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show is sponsored by Wise Guy Media, a new company dedicated to showcasing the talents and offerings of their customers through podcasting, eye-catching graphics, logo, and customized web design. Established in 2015, Wise Guy Media is continuing to push the elements of web and logo design with outside-of-the-box ideas and up-to-date graphic-generating programs. Whether you want to launch your own podcast, need a website, or a new logo for your brand, they have all your needs covered to promote yourself and get your brand recognized in your industry. To see what they've been up to, check out their site, www.sonyermedia.com/wiseguy, for a sample of what they've been doing to help get this podcast off the ground. That's www.sonyermedia, SANYERMEDIA.com/wiseguy. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode number 13. Can't believe we're already at 13. Well, we should have been at 13 yesterday, and this should be 14, but I had to take a couple days off to regroup and clear my brain, and therefore this is number 13. So my apologies for not being consistent and sticking with my word, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and we did. And now I'm back to reality and back on the show. So that being said, hope everybody's having a wonderful week. Tomorrow is a holiday for our community, being July 7th, and I'm actually doing a giveaway tomorrow on my Instagram. And so those that are going to be listening to the show here that comes out tomorrow, don't forget to check out my Instagram, which is at J.Michael Glass. So my guest for episode 13 and also 14 is Chip Steeler, also known as Shipwreck Glass, and Chip is a third-party collaborator. He is known for his electroformed work that he does in copper and silver plating, and he has worked with artists out there like Ham Waterworks, Liberty Glass, a lot of big names out there, and he even talks about some other artists that he would like to work with and projects that he has coming up, including his current line that he is doing with Mothership, which is pretty badass. So I'm excited to have him on and share his story and background with him, and also we get into a discussion about his brother Mer as well. And Mer was a major influence in the beginnings of my work, and Mer has actually passed away about 2 years ago now, I believe it was, just a little bit under 2 years ago. He was a major loss to our industry. But when he passed away, it was also a major coming together for our community as well, and it really showed how much love and support that we all have for each other. And it was pretty neat to be involved in that and also see all the love that was coming in. So besides that, kind of another hot day in Florida. I'm sure you guys are all out there sweating your brains out, so make sure you're staying hydrated. Lots of water. Add some lemon in there, a little salt. It'll help you out, make it feel better. So my main reason for getting out for a couple days was I have just been completely overwhelmed, and I had to get away and blow off some steam and clear my mind so that I can come back and regroup and get refocused. And while I was out of town, part of my time away, did some thinking while we were relaxing, and I put together a system for myself to really keep my business organized. Between balancing life with the wife and kids and running the podcast and also a full-time glass business, and also now that I'm looking for an assistant and also a potential, not just an assistant, but an apprentice as well, so which was going to help out tremendously. So I got back in, got myself reset and the studio cleaned and organized, and I was able to get a bunch of packages mailed out, which helped out a whole lot to clear some space, and now I'm back to the grind. So that being said, I hope you guys have been enjoying these shows. I've gotten a lot of amazing feedback still. You guys are awesome. I love all the feedback I've been getting. We've now reached over 2,000 downloads, which is completely mind-blowing to me. It was unexpected at first. I was hoping eventually we'd get there, but to be so soon in this podcast that we've been alive, it's really humbling and amazing. Also, the Wise Guy Radio website, we have almost finished building it. Well, I should say we finished the most part of the website itself. We've just been dealing with some technical issues with GoDaddy and uploading the show to their hosting thingy, which I don't know too much about, but my partner Xavier, who is his company is Sonyer Media, he does all my web design and graphic stuff and does everything. So he's handling that, and hopefully by the time the show airs tomorrow, it will be up and running. So make sure you guys keep an eye out at riseguyradio.com. All of our podcast episodes we have to date will be up there to listen to, along with links to all of the artist pages, show notes, and all kind of fun stuff as well. So we are now still doing the 30-day challenge. We are in day 9. Thanks for everybody who has been participating. The Facebook group page is where you should be posting your pictures. Even if you don't want to have them sold on Etsy, you could still put them on our Facebook page, because I do want to see what you guys are doing and also who all is involved. I was thinking the other day I should have done a roll call on day 1 just to kind of see who all is participating in this challenge. And I myself, because I was out of town for 2 days, didn't get, at least I had a day and a half we were really out, so there was one day where I didn't get a chance to make a pendant. And at the same time, I'm not expecting you guys to make a single pendant every single day, but the idea again is just to get in the habit of starting your day off with making a pendant or something of that nature as a warm-up. And so as you guys understand, it makes a huge difference. And also the fact that when you do the warm-up and you make it your piece, you now have an item that you can sell or whatever. So it's kind of a cool thing. And also, I've gotten some great feedback on that as well. So thanks everybody who has been participating in that. You can check out our Etsy page, which is etsy.com/WiseGuyRadio. Also, the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/WiseGuyRadio, is where you'll see all the pictures and those that are participating. So that being said, I want to get you guys into this episode. Don't want to chat too much here. Just know that next week we have a couple new announcements coming up in terms of the podcast, some new guests coming in as well, and some exciting news for the website, and also congratulations again to everybody who participated and registered at the Wise Guy Radio, our newsletter. I'm at a loss for words here. The newsletter that registered you for the newsletter and also automatically got you signed up for our giveaway. So congratulations again to everybody who has been involved and won. And for those that did not win, thank you guys so much either way for participating in the show. You guys all rock. So without further ado, here is Chip Steeler, Mr. Shipwreck. Love you guys. Take care. Peace. My guest today is a pioneer in the field of electroforming or metal plating. Beginning in 2009, he started his current career path with the influence of his brother Mer and a few other glass artists. Having been exposed to the intaglio printing and other works of art as an exhibition designer in fine art museums, he quickly realized he had found his niche and passion as a collaborative artist. It is a pleasure to introduce Chip Steeler, a.k.a. Shipwreck. How you doing, dude?
Doing great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. So you're hanging out in Oregon, which is now a free and legal state, so congratulations to everybody in Oregon.
Woohoo!
Yeah, man, pretty cool, dude. I'm down, being down here in Florida with the old fart system that we still have. Hopefully here in the next 2 years we'll be changing our stuff as well.
Well, it all tastes the same. It's just a little bit of freedom sprinkled on top.
Not quite looking over your shoulder.
Same as it did the day before legalization.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I've always said too, man. It isn't going to change the way I live my life. I can breathe a little easier.
That's exactly what it does.
Hell yeah. So, yeah, man. So last weekend was DFO, right? DFO 7?
It was the weekend before that.
Oh,
yeah, that was
2 weeks ago.
Really great DFO, actually.
Hell yeah, man. So, what was the crowd like in terms of the turnout for that?
The turnout was, I think it was about the same as last year, but they have a bit more space, and the space that they have is better organized now. So the flow was really nice as far as crowds. The demo artists all just had a lot of space, and it wasn't so much like in years past. There's been a lot of crowding and hard to really see what's happening. And this year it seemed like everybody had a lot more elbow room, but the crowd number was around the same as before. So it made it much more pleasant to be there,
Yeah.
Not that it wasn't pleasant before. It's just, when you've got a little airspace, elbow room, makes it a little bit more relaxed.
Yeah, man, because I know, like myself, like when I get into the larger venue crowd type stuff, I get a little anxious at times. But I think that,
Exactly.
but then when you get into that type of, even though it's a large crowd, but just the environment and the community, I mean, it's amazing to see the turnout in the community now to come out and support what it is that we've all been working for.
And if I'm going to be stuck in a crowd, I mean, I couldn't think of a better crowd to be stuck in with,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's pretty badass.
It's all a bunch of glass blowers and collectors and shop owners, and nobody's there for business per se as much as they're there just to, basically celebrate glass art and functional glass. It was an incredible experience, because everybody there, it's not like going to a trade show where everybody's hustling for something. It's just a low-key sit down, have a meal with somebody that you haven't, you respect their art, but you haven't talked to in a long time, and they're there in person. So, it creates, having stuff like the DFO makes everything else more fun. And it, for someone like me who's, all about collaborating, it's the best place I can go to meet more people to collaborate with.
Yeah, man, that's
because they're all going to be there.
Yeah, I saw too how you put your face on Instagram. You're like, hey, this is what I look like. Come find me. So I think it's pretty cool stuff, man. Because through social media and through Facebook, and like you and I, we've known each other for a while now, talking and stuff. And it's I'm sure once you and I actually meet in person, to be like we've been talking forever. So I'm looking forward.
Exactly.
I'm looking forward to that day for sure. So to kind of backtrack a little bit, let's get into your history. So I was reading that you have a background as an exhibition designer, and that was here in Florida, you were saying. So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. See, around 2003, I think, or 4, I moved to Miami with my ex, and she was going to University of Miami. And I initially was just going to go there, and my degree is in painting and printmaking, and I'm represented by a gallery here in Portland, Mark Woolley, and had to right away. When I got to Florida, I needed to open up an art studio and get my next show ready. And so I was doing that, and I ended up meeting some people that worked at the Frost Art Museum in Miami, and I guess it's West Miami, out at 107th, and I ended up going over there to help work on a exhibition, and within about a week and a half, they offered me the position of exhibition designer, and I got to design. They opened a brand new museum. I got to design the inaugural exhibition for the new Frost Art Museum out at FIU, and then they also had me touring with traveling exhibitions and designing in Central and South America in their museums for a show that we were traveling a photography. Abe Morel photographs, and we took them down to Mexico City and Santiago, Sao Paulo, and Buenos Aires, and so I got to travel and design in their museums too, which was pretty exciting.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
But it was, that was pretty much the culmination of working in museums and gallery museums and international art shipping for maybe 20 years, close to 21 years I had been in the business, and I collapsed my spine at work and had to have 3 discs taken out, and basically nobody's going to let the guy who collapsed their spine carrying a piece of art, handle their $3 million, $30 million painting. So basically kind of, ended my career with that accident. And so I moved back to Oregon. That's where I got into glass. I mean, I'm an Oregonian through and through. And so I moved back to Portland, and then within 6 months, I was down in Eugene living with my brother Mer, and I was looking for a new career, and he tried to teach me to blow glass, and I was getting the hang of it, but I was at the same time I was really, really excited about electroforming these pipes. He had a small setup, which I quickly turned into a big setup. And then once that got going, I ended up moving to a farm out in St. Helens, Oregon, outside of about 30 minutes out of Portland, and really set up a big shop, and where I had 3 big tanks rolling all the time, and I just never really looked back. It's too great a career and too many, nice people. It's definitely not as much money, but it's my lifestyle and my enjoyment of what I do is probably better than it's ever been.
Yeah, man, that's cool. Cause I like what you're saying. Because to me, as an entrepreneur, I could take my business, I could hire people to come on and do production for me, have a huge studio, be a bigger, large business. But like, I'm looking at where the movement's going, including yourself and as a third-party collaborative artist, we're all able to be lifestyle entrepreneurs, not necessarily these multi-millionaire, whatever, but we're able to be, in a sense, a lifestyle entrepreneur. We can actually do what we want to do as our passion, make a living, survive, save for the future, blah, blah, blah.
That's the dream right there.
It's
it's
awesome.
Every artist's dream.
Yeah.
I mean, a little production on the side to keep the boat floating, and a lot of like one-off collaborations where you're really dumping your passion into it. It creates, a really nice lifestyle. It does.
Yeah, it's awesome. Because, there's like yesterday, for instance, I'm out in the yard my wife and I are redoing our backyard, and it's hot as shit outside, and we're moving rocks and stones and stuff. And I started feeling a little guilty because I've got orders that are pending right now, and I wasn't working on my orders, knowing that I was going to be working on them today and also last night, during fireworks and stuff.
Right.
But it's kind of a funny mix to like to know that I can start my day off out in my yard and play with my dogs and the wife and kids and do yard work. And then at like 8 o'clock at night is when I can actually start my work. And I'll work until 2 or 3 in the morning. But it's like, it's having the ability to do that. But also for me personally, I'm trying to like not feel the guilt of not working.
Right. That's the flip side of working for yourself right there. What you just described is it's a 24-hour thing, 7 days a week. You always have projects that are going on. And it takes me more discipline to give myself some time off than it does to make myself work. Because I'm sort of the opposite as far as time. I get like to wake up early and I go straight out to the shop. I mean, I just get my coffee, I take it right to the shop and continue whatever, stage of projects I'm working on at the time. And and then I end up, it's easy to get caught up in spending the entire day, just working, but you have to carve that out for yourself. And my girlfriend has, weekends. And so, I don't really take weekends unless we're doing something, and I'll just take the day off. Mm-hmm. But I don't have to ask anybody.
Yeah, exactly. And my wife's the same way. She's a teacher, so during the school year, she has the weekends off, or and then all the holidays, whatever. But then summertime, it's like it's wide open. And for me, it's like, even though it's summertime for me too, I can't just not work.
Exactly.
So it's trying to find that balance of like, okay, honey, today I'm going to be just doing glass, and then maybe tonight we'll have some time, but tomorrow we'll have all day, kind of thing. So it's
exactly,
it's like it's scheduling out your time.
It out. Yeah, you just have to be, diligent about that, and not just, because for a while when I was living on the farm, my girlfriend was living here in Portland, and so I didn't see her every single day. So I just, do nothing but, my farm chores, take care of the chickens, and water the veggies, and work. And that was pretty much my life for 3 years. And then I moved back. Now she's in with me, and we got a beautiful house in Portland, and, now it's all about scheduling and forcing myself to take the time off when I, and it's something you just have to do. I don't want to burn out.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're doing your scheduling, do you guys like sit down and say, here's like the week ahead, here's like what days I'm working, what I'm not, where we're doing this and that?
Just usually as the weekend's approaching, we sort of, have a little powwow about, what she's got going on her days off, because she works long days during the week. She works 10-hour days. So when she's got, there's things she wants to go buy, or things she needs to get done on her days off. So we just try and schedule it all out together and carve as many blocks at a time as we can. Where we get to go just do stuff that's not work related and just fun related.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. So to kind of get back into your schooling that you had with the printing and stuff, I saw with the intaglio printing, I've always been intrigued by any kind of print, whether it was on copper plate or stone, even stuff that was dating back to the Egyptians, and even cave paintings and stuff. It's amazing. So knowing that you have that schooling, and then to see now where you are with your electroforming and the copper plating stuff, I mean, dude,
it's becoming more painterly and more. I'm actually, I'm almost 6 years in doing this electroforming. And it's this winter will be 6 years, and I'm just now getting to the point where I feel like it's really becoming painterly, and I'm should, using an expression on the copper, started etching copper. And treating them like you would a printing plate, and exactly like you're etching a copper plate for intaglio printing. And I always thought that the plates looked fuller than the actual prints themselves.
I agree.
It's like a one-of-a-kind object, and something about the color of copper is so warm, and it just feels good. And it also sort of tends, since it's kind of an antiquated printing method, and just copper in general, it just has sort of an antique vibe to it. So that gets right into picking the glass artists that I work with as well. Is where the copper, like say Mike Philpott, for example, the shapes that he turns on the lathe sort of harken back to some 1920s vase designs and shapes, just informing aesthetics. There's like an antique element there that the copper is, it's like they're made to be electroformed already. He never thought of that until we started working together. But those pieces look phenomenal with copper on them. And it's not, and his work is all about the form, which doesn't really change as much. I mean, except for when he's doing collaborations with other glass artists, most of the time he works in clear colors. And so it's not like I need to worry about covering up his wigwag or some sort of radicello pattern with the copper and having to compete with that for, space on the piece. And the only thing to worry about is, make sure you can still see the function, and then add the copper in there with the trimmings, and it just creates a really elegant, one-of-a-kind piece.
Yeah, I agree. With Philpott's work, too, and he has that old Depression era style, and work in his glass.
Yeah.
I know when you and I first started talking, I was kind of, at that time of my life, I was influenced from the Depression era, and not only the shapes and styles of the glass, but also, the concept of function, not even necessarily, the function of using it, but, of it sitting on your shelf and you have an appreciation for it and it putting a smile on your face, that the function that it serves, But when you add your copper to the glass, it accentuates the shape and design and almost magnifies what's going on. And then you'll leave a window, like you're saying, so you can see the function, or if someone has a reversal in there, that kind of stuff.
I can use it to it's actually highlight some of those sculptural design elements that the glass artist uses,
Yeah. It can go on. Sorry.
Oh, I was just saying that it can accentuate or highlight the same thing and just bring his idea further forward, and it kind of makes a really nice piece. And then when it's a production item for him, as far as his, these are the Philpott line. There's 6 models, and they're all, similar shapes and different, slightly different functions, and all different sizes. 6 different sizes. And but once they've been electroformed, they become one of a kind, because I really don't repeat patterns very. If I ever have repeated the same thing, it's been by accident and like years apart. But I try and just do what the piece sort of calls for, and never try and mimic what I did last time.
Right.
I mean, I'll do that on production, hands, dry spoons and stuff like that, where there's only so many ways you can do it, and I've done thousands of these pipes at this point of the production spoons, but I'll do those the same. But that's like a meditation at this point. Doing orders for spoons and stuff, it's kind of, I don't think too much about it. I'm thinking more about, because I've done so many, that I'm not thinking about them individually very much, which makes me want to stop doing them, honestly. And I'm getting close to the day where I can just focus on headies. I think for the rest of this summer, that's what I'm going to do. I've got 2 production orders that I'm filling right now, and after that, I'm not going to take any more production orders probably until this fall, and just strictly work. I've been doing work with the mothership, and I've got some collabs lined up with hopefully Cowboy, Jared DeLong, and Joshua Oppendocker.
Nice.
And I kind of want to, and I'll still do production forming for Liberty Glass. That's something that I'll never give up, because that company and Shipwreck seems to work extremely well together. They're here in Portland, and I couldn't quit that.
Yeah, no, I love the work you guys are doing out of there for sure. Especially the history.
Deep carve sandblasting and electroforming are kind of made for each other, it seems like.
Yeah, I agree.
It brings out the best in everything.
Heck yeah. So how long does an average piece take you? I mean, I know there's variations, obviously, in the size and the shapes and stuff, but is there like a...
Well, so a production run for, say, spoons is probably going to take, a couple weeks, considering that there's multiple things going on in the bath at the same time. And then, there's all this, that's not all just putting the copper on, but then, it's getting where the copper is going to go, paint it onto the pipe, growing the copper. Then after that, I do a lot of finish work. And I think that's something that might be one of the things that's helped me sort of stand out from other electroformers, is that I do a lot of machine work with the copper after it's on the pipe, and play with the texture, and then get to the patinas. And so it adds a more finished, it creates a more finished product, and it's not as organic as it comes out right out of the bath. Because it tends, if you leave a piece in the bath for a while, it tends to start growing. It's almost like a tree bark, it's got a texture to it. And I try and I grind. I use belt sanders, I use Dremel tools, rotary, all sorts of rotary tools, sand the copper down. I did some pieces for Mothership recently that, I sanded them down to, 5,000 grit, and then polished, and then went through with the buffer and polished them up. So they're like a mirror, I did the same thing I did with those ham pieces way back when, like 5 years ago, when I did that run of tall ham tubes.
Yeah, I love that look. I like the look too when you're using, and you're leaving like that kind of a blue finish to it as well, like that heavy patina.
Yeah, the heavy patinas, patina work is a lot of fun, and I'm starting to get into using multiple patinas at the same time, and so you can grow the blue where you want it, and then lock it down with the lacquer, and then get into other colors like blues and greens and blacks and browns. And I've got a silver patina that's, I wouldn't call it, it's technically they call it silver plating, but it's not an electrochemical. It's more of a static bond, and it puts a several atoms thick layer of pure silver onto the copper.
Wow. And
it's about as durable as a regular patina. So again, it needs to be lacquered down, or eventually it'll wear away.
Right.
But it adds another color to that palette of patina. that really becomes dynamic.
Huh, that's fascinating.
It's like having a white, on a palette, a painter's palette.
Yeah, yeah.
And, if you only have dark colors and then all of a sudden you're given a white, it's like opens a million doors.
Man, that's too cool. Yeah, because, like, besides the art itself of what you're doing, I love the science involved. Like, I've always been intrigued by different chemical reactions and, even growing crystals as a kid. Like, I know I've gone to, like, the local craft store and just bought some, generic science kits for my kids, and we'll grow crystals and, and watch chemical reactions, and alchemy. It's so neat. So to see that then transition and translate into what we're doing in the glass, it's so fucking cool, dude. Like, I can talk to you for 3 or 4 days about this shit, just because it's so exciting. I love it. That's why I said it's also why I wanted to bring you on, just because it's your perspective on what you're doing is completely different from blowing glass and having to anneal glass and work with colors. Because I know you have a glass background, but your main background is exactly what it is you're doing right now, all across the board. It's cool to see, like, your past, and you take in all the little things and all the knowledge that you've learned over the past 25 years, and now it's all culminated into this amazing art form that you now have. That, I see your work, and I'm like, damn, that's some badass Shipwreck glass right there. I mean, it's like,
Thank you.
Yeah, dude, no problem.
I think that's what we're all really doing now. I mean, it's like taking what our interests are and what turned us on in the past, and trying to bring a little bit of that yourself, what lights your fire, bringing that to the table while you're making art. And, on some level, glass artists are doing the exact same thing. It's just mine might be a little bit more apparent because because there's a direct history to printmaking, and, I'm not really sure, but it feels like everybody, their creative nature stems from the same place.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's like, and I find that as a glass artist and those that watch what we do, we're all drawn to the fire. It's always been like for centuries and centuries and centuries. Ceremonially, we've all come around a fire or a flame of some sort, and and come together as a community. And it's cool to see a form of art being created from the fire that we as a community have this spiritual connection to. And also ceremonially, I mean, it's and it goes back, thousands of years. I mean, it's, even when you go back to like, the electro, plating, even though they weren't doing it the same way you're doing it, but like, all the gold and stuff they used to do for the sarcophaguses and stuff and over in Egypt. I mean, it's like the metal use has been in art for, centuries and centuries and centuries. But even the Egyptians were creating cobalt glass then that they were using for adornments and stuff. So now, fast forward 2,000 years, or whatever it's been, to see it done in a modern form, it's amazing.
Well, fire is, I mean, think about it. I mean, everything from a candle on a table to what you're cooking your meal with, there's something that relaxes people about having a fire present.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets you into a zone, better thinking. It's just having that fire present does that. I mean, historically, it's what you cook your food on. It's what you make your art with. It's how you make things. How you destroy things.
Yep.
And fire is in everything, all the way back to the earliest human history.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, man. It's cool. It's a ton of fun. So, your name Shipwreck, where does that stem from? What's influenced that?
Well, that was, it's pretty simple. When I was trying to think of a name for the company, and as we talked about earlier, but just prior to me starting this company, I had lost a 20-year career because of an injury. I had to teach myself to walk again. Doctors, there wasn't even any guarantee after my surgery that I was going to be able to use my left leg. They're, giving me pamphlets for prosthetics and stuff. And I just am too stubborn to lose a leg, I guess. And made myself learn to walk again. And there's some nerves back in my hip that were severely damaged. And then at the same time, just before I moved back to Oregon, at the same time I got a divorce to top it all off. It's like the perfect trifecta of bad things happening to me.
Right.
It's like, divorce, lose your career, lose your health. I mean, what's that?
Yeah.
And so basically I felt shipwrecked.
Hell yeah.
I was completely shipwrecked, and that's when I went down to Eugene, and Mer pretty much must be a salvage operation because he got me floating again.
Man, that's interesting. It makes total sense, though. Dude.
And that trip to Eugene, it wasn't just Mer too. I mean, I have to say, like, hand wrestling gave me an incredible leg up. Like, getting to electroform some of this stuff, like, right after I'd been, I've only recently learned electroforming, and here's one of the top glass blowers in the country or world, for that matter, is giving me these incredible pieces to do electroforming on. And that, I guess, the caveat of having worked on the hand brushing piece, this is all way pre-Waterworks. I don't think Waterworks was even a dream yet at that point. And, but people, I never had to sort of start by like, I want to electroform glass, so I better find some glass blower. It's like, I got to start out with Mer monkey pipes, hand brushing tubes, still pot tubes. And then, once you have worked with some, bigger names in the industry, it became a lot easier for me to continue working with and being able to choose artists based on what the ultimate vision was at the end, instead of just trying to recreate, reinvent the wheel or something each time. And so I ended up with, I think it makes a big difference. It made a big difference. It was incredibly fortunate, and I can't really talk about starting Shipwreck without, mentioning that I had a lot of help.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It sounds like, being a mechanic, that you worked on, some Volkswagens for a couple of years, and then all of a sudden you start working with Ferraris and Lamborghinis.
Right. Yeah. Or, imagine, if you're teaching yourself to blow glass and then you have to build a name for yourself. So imagine doing that in an isolated bubble, or doing it, in hand brushing shop,
right,
where you're like, so just have the exposure that you get, and you get tied on to a higher quality from the beginning.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like starting out as a Ferrari. So
yeah, man,
not having to work your way up to that. So it saved me a lot of time as far as like building the Shipwreck machine, and it's like I didn't have a hard time. And Ham even helped. The original production glass blowing was two of the pieces were his design that he gave me for my catalog, and he trained James Brown, local Eugene blower who now works for Waterworks. He trained him to make the pipes for me.
Wow. So
I mean, the glass was all out of, Ham and I thought up what would be good and what kind of, back to the antique sort of forms and shapes, Marias and, bubbles and those shapes that, give it that old school look. And not old school in the glass, but old school in like history of design. And getting those kind of products to start off with, really helped. And then when he actually took James back to work for Waterworks, which I don't blame him, because he's a damn good glass blower, and I had to hire a new, somebody to do my production, making the glass, and it was incredible. I put out a note for like on Facebook, like I'm looking for, and the response was amazing. Like some really great glass blowers were getting in touch with me right away.
Yeah,
like
awesome.
That day.
Wow.
I mean, it was probably took 4 hours, and I found Merlin McKenzie's in Dynamic Form. He's been a glass blower for, pushing 20 years. I mean, he's been a production guy his whole career, and he has the ability to do just about anything he sees. I mean, the mechanics of blowing glass for him are like tying shoes. And so when I sit down and talk about new forms and shapes, like, I need this, and he's like, oh, you mean like this, bam, bam, bam. And I said, yes, that's exactly, okay, next piece in the catalog.
Hell yeah, it's too cool.
You know, and so, you know, having, you know, getting to work with really awesome glass blowers has been an ultimate blessing. Like, Shipwreck would never, if I was just working on, you know, no name or some, you know, janky first year glass blower glass, then I never would, you know, part of the recipe for success is to have quality ingredients.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you have a super strong foundation now because of that.
Yeah.
That's
and
cool.
Now, as far as the foundation goes, now that I'm going to be doing a lot more work with Mothership as well, and that's now, you know, it's a string of, I just finished 12. I've got 13. I've got the 13th one in my shop right now that I'm getting ready to start, and then they're going to be feeding me glass through the year.
That's awesome.
So it's an ongoing thing. So as long as they're, you know, doing well, and then there's always going to be more.
Yeah, man, and it's
fantastic.
Yeah, it is, because like I think Mothership in general has set like this high standard for quality, for marketing, for business. Yeah. I mean, everything in our industry that you can take and put into one category, or I mean, if it's possible, you know, they've really taken the whole concept of what it is to be a professional, an artist, a business, and also like almost like mad scientist too. You know, like some of the functionality these pieces are doing is just amazing.
They're the smoothest designs, consistently smoothest designs that, I mean, of any company I know of. Their production models are, well, their function is, you know, unrivaled.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other great pieces, but I mean, they are really, really great. I love Toros. I love, you know, a lot of the scientific styles and the functions, but it seems like the Mothership pieces have a flow, an airflow as part of the function that is just so smooth.
Hell yeah. You know, I remember those guys were first coming around, like, you know, when I was starting off doing glass, and they were building a name for themselves, you know, and just seeing the you know, the stuff they were doing.
Scott Duffy is without a doubt one of the most talented glass blowers around.
Yeah, to see where he's, I know.
Yeah, and Jake Colito, man, his color work is, I mean, all of his work, but the color work in particular is just so insanely good. Yeah. And when I was down, I was just up there delivering the pieces last week, and Rose Rhodes was a guest in the studio during the week that I was there, and that's another insanely talented glass blower. It was a real honor to meet him, for one, and for two, just to sit there and watch him work on those tiny little dots.
Yeah, man.
I think he's hit something that a lot of us like look for in all of our work, is where you end up in a moment of zen while you're working, and time and space is just what you're doing. There's nothing. It's almost like the world does not exist.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, I know there's times where I get into a piece and it's like you get that tunnel vision, and then all of a sudden you come out of it and you're like, oh my god, I'm actually in my studio. You know, it's kind of an unnerving situation.
Like 4 hours later.
Yeah, exactly.
And the last conscious thought you had was 4 hours ago.
Yeah, it's
pretty amazing. I think that's what everybody's looking for when they're trying to do art in general. I mean, that's where the real creative elements flow from. It's just that great.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. So you mind if we get a little bit of talking about your brother? Coming up on the next episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show.
Advice to give a newbie, I'd say don't expect the world all at once. Constantly strive and constantly learn. Always be learning. A day without learning might as well be, a sick day.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show. If you have any questions, comments, or remarks, please leave them in the show notes page area where it says comments. We'll see you soon. Have a wise night.